and we wait an indeterminate amount of time, and suddenly, boom, we're recording. Floppy arms, boom, rigid arms.
Yeah.
For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I am Jake. Brian, speak your name.
Hey guys, it's Brian over here.
There you go. And we are the Overtime MMA podcast for the week of May 20-something or other.
Yeah.
We didn't record on Monday because this weekend's UFC isn't until Sunday, so we decided that we deserved an extra day off. So tough shit if you missed us on Monday. Hopefully we can accommodate your schedule next week. Brian, we wanted to start off talking about the low-level weirdo bullshit that happened last weekend before we get into the pretty damn decent card that we have to look forward to at Ultimate Fight Night 88.
Right.
So are we doing Bellator 155 first, or are we doing Venator FC 3?
Let's start with the itty-bitty Venator, and then we'll jump up to the semi-decent Big Fish Bellator, and then to the Big Kahuna UFC. So
you got it. All right, so Venator 3 was a weird clusterfuck of I have no idea. Starting off with the weigh-ins, Mayhem Miller, you might know him, love him, hate him, loathe him from
probably hate him and loathe him.
I think that there's more people who are anti-Mayhem than pro-Mayhem at this point. But he used to be on a TV show called Bully Beatdown, which was the absolute fakest shit that I have ever seen in my life. He was also on The Ultimate Fighter. He fought, I believe, 3 times in the UFC and never actually had a victory. His last 2 losses were the TKO loss to Michael Bisping, which was really sad and embarrassing, and then a split decision loss, I think it was, to Galloway. He hasn't fought in 4 years, and I had no inclination to see him fight ever again. And he did, and it turned out pretty much as I expected, given the fact he was supposed to fight at 185, ended up fighting a natural 205er. Brian, what did this say to you before I give my thorough and slighted commentary?
This says to me, Mayhem Miller. It's essentially this is him. Everything leading up to the fight itself, nothing is new. You know what I mean? I feel like he showed exactly what kind of potential he will always have in mixed martial arts, if that makes any sense.
I think he definitely maxed out years ago in the era of people hadn't wised up to jiu-jitsu, and he kind of had that early edge on it. But once you get anybody with any kind of good jiu-jitsu or takedown defense, I mean, he was always pretty bad at takedowns. I mean, he never had that kind of explosive, at least from what I can recall. And I think I've seen all of his fights, at least the ones that are available online. Yeah, I think he was a guy who was able to hide his misgivings early on because he was good at a specialty, and then everybody else caught up because, in order to do mixed martial arts, your jiu-jitsu is kind of like walking. Like, it's just an integral part to even get to that point. Right. And so I think that he ended up kind of getting exposed, for lack of a better term, and then the guy who he fought was a legitimate 205-pounder who cut weight to get there, whereas he had just not made weight at 185, showed up at 209 and then thought that he was going to, fight. And the funniest thing, the whole farcical part, was where he took off his shorts as if his shorts possibly weighed 24 pounds.
Right. Yeah. Again, like I said, very Mayhem Miller-like of him. Nothing really shocked me. 24 pounds overweight. How is somebody like that even allowed to even fight after showing up that much overweight? You know what I mean? It almost seems like it's just a spit in the face of everybody within the promotion.
Yeah, and the promotion as it stands now doesn't really have a great tenure. I mean, they had signed Husam Armbars, and they had a little bit of a sordid history, and the owner-operator has been very antagonistic with the media, more so than even Dana White. And so it's kind of got this weird niche, but then this weekend kind of just showed, like, yes, you've hired guys who are all irrelevant now. I mean, moving on to the next fight, was the World Series of Fighting welterweight champ before he got cut after his, snafu with Jake Shields, wherein he finger fucked his eyes like he was a sophomore on a homecoming dance. And then he lost to a guy who's good in Emil Meck, sorry. But even then, I mean, it was super fast, very abrupt, and kind of jarring. Like, oh, you just expired. Like that was your shelf life, and you're done.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it's something that it kind of it's strange to see him kind of dominate so much in World Series of Fighting, and then just come here after the strip of the belt, and it just seems like I don't know, he's just a completely different fighter.
Yeah, and I don't. You always want to speculate as to what happened, but one of the things we talked about off the air was the fact of, you know, I go through these phases, like these wavelengths of how I feel about. Like there are times where I think, oh yeah, like he's just misunderstood, and there's times I think that he's quite possibly like the scum of the earth, and that he's kind of brought his own design or demise. What do you think? Do you think that he's just like this kind of Lenny from Of Mice and Men who doesn't realize his own strength, or do you think that he's a guy who's opportunistic and a little bit it's like?
I think it's the latter of the two. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's just like it's either just a small combination. I mean, how many times has he just completely torqued somebody's leg after after a tap? You know what I mean? And it just like, well, one was suspect. Two is like, okay, yeah, you're obviously there's something wrong with you. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't like the guy. So I was happy he lost.
And what do you think about the performance itself? He goes in for this, double leg takedown and just I mean, the way we kind of learned to refer to it on our show is, the Travis Brown elbow, where, I mean, that's how Travis Brown was able to dispatch Josh Barnett, the War Master, and very much the same thing. And then startlingly fast. And you can't imagine that's the first time, even in sparring, that he would have ever been in that scenario. Do you feel like he phoned it in, or like that he underestimated his opponent, or do you think that maybe Emil Meck was just that good?
I feel like it was an underestimation, really. I feel like it's maybe he didn't train very hard for this fight. I mean, coming into Venator, it's Venator, you know what I mean? So as far as competition, maybe one wouldn't expect as tough competition as he actually did. So
yeah, I would kind of agree. What do you think of the Matt Hamill versus Sokuju? So it was so Kuju, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah, like I was saying off the air, it's kind of crazy that both of these guys are still fighting. But I mean, again, is it really too crazy considering? I mean, Ken Shamrock and Kimbo Slice fighting and stuff. So I guess it's not too far fetched. I feel like it definitely might be time for, I'd say, both of these guys to hang up their gloves. Even though Sokoju won, but I don't know.
Well, do you think that Sokoju actually hangs it up now, or do you think that after getting that KO win, I mean, Little Nog just made headlines by saying that he hopes that the retirement talk stops now that he has, victory over Corey Anderson. Wait, no, that's not the one. It was the KO win over Patrick Cummins, excuse me. But he's saying like, after he got that win, he wants people to back the fuck off. Do you think Sokoju is going to be in the same situation where he's like, hey, I just beat somebody who was a runner-up on the Ultimate Fighter almost a decade ago. Leave me alone.
No, absolutely not. No, it's you know what? It's I feel like it's sad to say it because it's like airing towards the side of the UFC, but I feel like he's kind of had his run of the UFC. You know what I mean? I don't know if anybody really wants to see him come back in. I personally wouldn't. I don't know. That's just me.
Do you think that he has the time or even the competition to be able to do that? Because that's one thing. Not only is it him getting the wins, it's him getting the fights to have credible wins. I mean, you have so often guys get cut from the UFC, and sure, you go on a 5-fight win streak against fucking nobody because you can't get a credible fight outside the UFC unless you're fighting somebody who is very likely also cut from the UFC.
Yeah, it's definitely a dilemma. It's kind of one of those things where, yeah, like you said, you're fighting somebody that's an expert, somebody that was in the UFC, or somebody who doesn't have a Wikipedia page. So,
Now, what do you think of the Alexis Dufresne versus Marloes Coenen fight?
well, what's funny is because I didn't realize that Dufresne didn't even make weight. I didn't know that until you had mentioned that prior to the podcast. So, with that being said, I mean, kind of sucks. Kind of sucks for Cohen.
Yeah, I thought that it was demoralizing. Marloes Coenen was probably my first MMA crush back in the day, and so to see her get beat and then get beat with like such an asterisk next to her name, and then to have Alexis Dufresne kind of had this weird pageantry about it, where she treated Marloes as though she had been disrespected, and it's like, woman, you just missed weight, and you are a short notice replacement. So now Marloes is not fighting for a title; she's fighting against somebody who's bigger than her. And the only reason you're even getting to fight is because she's saying it's okay and she'll still take the fight. And you were completely ungracious. I never want to see Alexis Dufresne fight again. And I think with that, we should move on to the main event, if you can call it that. The Rafael Carvalho, Melvin Manhoof fucking disaster. Brian, what happened in that fight?
I don't know. I was just you know what, I didn't even personally watch the fight. I was just reading up on the scorecards, and it made my brain hurt.
Well, I watched all 25 minutes of that bullshit, and I wish that I could have it back. I get
how could they score it the way they did? You know what I mean?
It doesn't make sense to me. I think that Melvin, very arguably won 3 rounds comfortably, and I think that 4 rounds possibly. There was a very inactive fight, and I think that Manhoof's tentativeness makes a little bit of sense. I don't even think he's ever been booked in a 5-round fight, much less gone there. I think it was the first time he'd ever gone past the 3rd round, so it was huge. He's in his 40s, so I think that he wanted to kind of show off his cardio and endurance. But for Carvalho to just be that weird, awful fight, I mean, it was awful. Like, I feel like coming out of it, you had Bellator strip their heavyweight champion for being inactive. Dude, this guy was inactive and he was in the fucking cage. Like, he had a fight and he didn't fight in said fight.
Yeah, that's definitely something that kind of prevented me from watching the fight. Especially all the backlash of afterwards, just all the different kind of feedback and articles people were writing about, like, how badly this fight was.
Yeah, and I think that this card is a great testament to one of the things that we've echoed on this show time and again, is it's like every time Bellator does something good, they do something not good. And not necessarily even bad, but it's not good. So it's that 2 steps forward, 1 step back. However you want to do the math. But, Brian, am I wrong in feeling kind of betrayed at how bad this card was?
No, absolutely not. It was definitely something that I'm actually not upset that I didn't get a chance to watch it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it saved you time. I mean, that's one of the things that we've talked about as well, is the fact of, now that the UFC is so busy, even with my fanaticism, I don't have enough time to watch everything, and I have to curate my MMA intake. And this is definitely an entire fight card where I would be just fine having, like, if you told me, had I not watched it and you told me this week that it happened and I looked through the results, nothing would faze me except the fact that Marloes Coenen lost. And that's it. None of it has any consequence on an MMA global scale. None of it really has consequence even in Bellator. Yeah. Even a title fight doesn't have consequence. So I think the whole thing was just, it was hard for me to stomach. And I just, I'm done with it. I think I said in a podcast last week, was it, that I would cover the next 3 events. So this is my coverage. I'm almost done with my self-imposed prison sentence. Brian, let's move on to Ultimate Fight Night 88 from somewhere. Probably Vegas, right?
I don't know. I didn't even look and see where it was at. You guys see? Oh, yeah, Vegas. There you go. Vegas.
Vegas? All right.
Vegas. So do you want to start at the bottom?
Yeah, let's do it like Drake and started at the bottom, now we're here, which is a song that was sung and reiterated and repeated to me many times from other people.
Okay. Chris De La Rocha and Adam Milstead.
I don't want to start that low. Let's start at the Sterling Caraway fight, huh?
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Because to me, that's where the card actually starts. That's, the quote unquote people's main event.
Right.
Love that fight. I think that it's a very dangerous fight and kind of a bizarre fight for Aljamain Sterling to take because he's ranked number 4, Caraway's ranked number 8, and Caraway last fought almost a year ago, and that was the only time in 2015 that he fought. And in 2014, he only fought twice. A guy, Brian, we talked about this out there. Brian Caraway's been in the UFC for 8 years, and he's fought 11 times. I mean, that's impeccably inactive for a guy in the lower weight classes. Am I right?
Yeah, man. It's definitely kind of an interesting fight to look at as far as dynamics. Why would Sterling accept somebody 4 spots above him? I guess to keep off that ring rust. I don't know. When was the last time that Sterling fought?
It wasn't that long ago. He fought this year already. It was the Cowboy versus Cowboy fight card, right?
Yeah. So it was Johnny Eduardo, December 10th, 2015. So just about 6 months ago.
So, and even then, he in that time he's also re-signed with the UFC, and he had.
Right.
This isn't to say that he's just been inactive for that reason. He's 12-0 versus 20-8. Caraway has been, kind of remarkably inconsistent. And Brian, one of the things his inactivity goes to show me is that he's got one foot out the door. I don't recall ever hearing him having a major injury. If so, please feel free to correct me because I'd like to know that information. But as far as I know, nothing. He's just been coaching Miesha Tate. And I don't think there's anything wrong in that. Pat Barry did the same thing, and I still fancy myself a Pat Barry fan, right, with Rose Namajunas. Yeah. There's no problem in that. Being a house husband sounds fucking tits.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I believe that it almost seems like a lot of really good coaches kind of cut themselves off just because they feel the urge to still stay in the UFC as far as active fighters go. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they can do so much more in coaching others, but instead they want to just kind of hold on to that pipe dream of becoming a champion or jumping in ranks. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Look at guys like Danny Castillo over at Team Alpha Male. Clearly his career was going down, and now he's really dedicated himself to being a coach. Boom. Guys like Chris Holdsworth, also Team Alpha Male, had the post-concussive syndrome, and now he's focusing on being a coach rather than putting himself in a dangerous position. Mike Swick, American Kickboxing Academy, Thailand, and he's a giant. Did you see that picture that came out of him?
No.
You remember he was a welterweight, and now he's like svelte. SVELT. So, yeah, if you haven't done that and looked it up, you definitely ought to. Brian, I think we both have Sterling on this one, but how do you have Sterling and why?
You know what? I'm going to go with Sterling by submission. Just because, I don't know. I feel like he's kind of he's a scrapper. He's, he tends to get those he likes those rear naked chokes. Looks like he's got 3 consecutive rear naked chokes.
I think so as well. I mean, he trains with Matt Serra every damn day, and you don't train with Matt Serra and not know your jiu-jitsu.
Right. So he's got 3 consecutive rear naked chokes, a unanimous TKO punches. Then he has an arm triangle choke and a guillotine choke. So I don't know. I'm calling lights out Brian Caraway second round via guillotine.
Guillotine.
No, nice. No, I'm sorry, not guillotine. I take it back. No, not guillotine. Rear naked choke.
No, even if it's a guillotine, though, I mean, you could see Caraway going for a desperate double and end up in
desperate double. Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's. I don't know. I see like a scramble in the second round. Caraway gives his back. Boom, rear naked choke.
Right on. I'm going to go ahead and take your other one. Your refuse. I like the idea of Aljamain via guillotine, so I'm going to go with that one. But I do think that it's going to be submission. I do think it's going to be him. Either that or it's going to be a decision, and it's going to be very inactive, and it's going to be that kind of tepid Brian Caraway feeling out phase, which is the reason he lost to Darren Cruikshank, if I'm not mistaken. I might be off on who he fought last, but doesn't matter. Let's move on. Eric Koch makes his long-awaited UFC return following his loss to Darren Cruikshank. So maybe that's why I had that in my brain. But he hasn't fought in over 2 years.
Over 2 years. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, and he's a young guy too, so I hope he did some soul searching or something.
Right.
And this is a guy who's got a tough run in the UFC. All of his losses: Mendez, Lamas, Poirier, I guess Cruikshank.
Right.
But whatever.
That's what I was saying, before the podcast. He doesn't exactly have like some shitty losses, it's some random nobodies other than Cruikshank. But, Lamas, Poirier, Mendez, all are, at least somewhere in top 10, you know what I mean? So it's, it's cool to see him back, but it's just kind of crazy to see that last time he fought was, a little over 2 years ago, May 10th. So, I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see how he comes out in the fight. You know what I mean? Because after being away for so long, there's got to be that that thought in the back of your head, like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I could have been doing anything but this, like I've been doing for the past 2 years. So what do I do now? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what do you think about his competition in Shane Campbell? Is this a tune-up fight, a guy who's 1-2 in the UFC? Or is this a guy who's also just as desperate to get a UFC win? How do you see it?
Okay, so I don't know. See, it's kind of tough because, I like Eric Koch. Eric, is it Koch? Koch?
I've always pronounced it Coke, but I could very well be wrong because I am ignorant.
Me as well. So, one thing I look at with Campbell is he's definitely very active. You know what I mean? Three fights in 2012, 1 in 2013, 2 in 2014, 3 in 2015, albeit not all of them in the UFC, but still, with that much consistency, you gotta imagine he's gonna have a steady fight camp or a steady, legitimate training. So I don't know. I could give this to Campbell.
Huh. I think that's interesting. It's definitely going to show, I don't know. Not everybody's Dominic Cruz, man. And that whole ring rust thing is a very real situation. And
right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't care how intense your sparring is. Your sparring is not going to be anywhere near as severe as a fight. And if it is, you're sparring wrong, and you could be doing potential damage that's cutting short your entire career. So I think you might have something with Campbell. I want to go with Koch just because I think that I don't want to agree with you on every fight on this card. And it would be nice to see a guy win. He's, 1-3 in the UFC, hasn't fought in 2 years. It would be a feel-good story for him to become 2-3, right?
Right.
To it than 1-3. So
right.
One quick thing I want to do, and this is going to be annoying shit, but bear with me. Hold on. You hear that? Here, hold on. In case you missed it up in the cheap seats. That's dedicated to Jake Collier. If you don't understand that reference, you clearly didn't watch enough pro wrestling in the early 2000s. I think 2002 is when he made his debut. But John Cena used to be known as the Prototype, and he had the same fucking haircut as Jake Collier. So I'm never going to refer, after this sentence right now, I never refer to him as Jake Collier again. His initials are the same. His hairstyle is the same. His nickname's the same. His fucking entrance music to the octagon, it better be the same. It's John Cena.
It's Jake Cena.
Don't, because then somebody might try and bring that shame on me. It's John Cena. So, Brian, I have in this fight. I just wanted to go crazy about it. Apparently, the UFC doesn't even give a fuck about this fight because they got the next fighter's name wrong. On UFC.com, it's Albert O. Uda. What's the name on Sherdog?
Alberto Emiliano Pereira. So something tells me that, I mean, I'm leaning towards the Emiliano Pereira over the Uda. And Sherdog has the Uda under the name as the nickname. So I'm leaning towards that. What do you think?
I think you're right, and I think it might be kind of embarrassing if they signed a contract with the wrong fucking guy. Have I ever told you this fun fact? You remember Zach Gowen from WWE, the guy who, the one-legged wrestler who lost to Brock Lesnar and made Brock Lesnar a big heel? Well, he was the wrong one-legged wrestler. There was another wrestler who was wrestling down in Florida who actually used a prosthetic leg, and they were told, somebody goes, hey, you need to sign the one-legged wrestler. There was more than one, and so that's how Zach Gowen got a career in the US, or the WWE. So we might be that situation here where we're like they're trying to find Alberto, whatever you said his name was, and they get Uda, which would be Uda Control. I gotta say.
I like it.
That's all I got. I got John Cena and the Uda Control pun, and I have no other interest in this fight whatsoever. Uda, I noticed, was 8-0, so I'm gonna go with him because
Right. It's funny because
I can't see John Cena winning this fight.
It's funny because I have Uda at 9-0, at least on through Sherdog.
Fuck, man, Sherdog's been. Sherdog also says that Caraway's 20-7, right? But on UFC.com it says he's 20-8. I'm noticing some inconsistencies here.
Right.
By the ramshackle, production they have over there at UFC.com. Brian, I think they should put us in charge so we can notice minute little indiscretions such as these, correct them, and rebuke the people who made such paltry and deplorable mistakes. You agree?
Absolutely. I mean, I could always use a Reebok wardrobe. Why not?
Oh, shit. You can wear shirts with other people's names on them. Biatch. Have you ever heard Chris D'Elia's bit about that? Where it's like if you're wearing another man's name on your shirt, fuck you. Whenever he wants.
True. It's true.
Kind of inclined to agree with him. It's kind of a scary thing. That's why I only wear stripes.
And you know what's funny?
For those of you listening to the podcast at home, you don't catch the stripes, but I am, in fact. Brian, will you attest to the people at home not seeing the video product that I am wearing a striped tank top?
Yeah.
Did you just testify on my behalf?
I did. You are wearing a striped tank top. Absolutely.
You cut out. Oh, for those of you who don't know, my ongoing war with Time Warner Cable, I thought had reached a climax and that I had won. Turns out I just got fucked in a different way. They got me a new router, and less than 24 hours after getting the new router, it sent my Xbox One into seizure mode, and it kept turning off and on. And then I go to on my phone because I can't use the goddamn internet and find out that that's the reason why. So if at any point my broadcast or podcast get fucked up tonight, you know who to blame. Moving on. Josh Berkman. Oh, wait. No, we got Abel Trujillo versus Rinaldi. That's all I got. And I got Trujillo has a cage tattoo. He's a member of the Black Zillions. And the other guy doesn't have a pick on UFC.com, so I'm going to go with Abel Trujillo. Because why not? Brian, am I crazy?
Yeah, no. Abel Killer Trujillo. That's what I got for.
Next, this is an interesting one. Josh Berkman versus Paul Felder. Josh, the People's Warrior Feldman. Wait, no, Berkman. I just mixed it and made it Feldman. Oh, God.
No,
because Paul Felder looks like Corey Feldman, doesn't he?
Yeah, I could see that. But I mean,
one of the Toad brothers in the Lost Boys. He's got like the red hair and he's pale and he's.
I think
put him in some fucking fatigues and put him in a comic book shop. It's the same fucking guy, Brian.
I think he might have skipped a fight too. But I mean, let's talk about this one and then go to the one.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So let's finish this one. The People's Warrior. It's the worst nickname ever. It's why people hate fantasy novels. It's a mouthful and
Bert,
it's not very satisfying at the end of it. I don't like Josh Berkman necessarily. Like, he seems fine enough. He stole John Fitch's son's name, which is always going to be weird to me. I'm going to go with Felder because even in Felder's losses, I've enjoyed watching him lose. Like, it wasn't an
right.
arduous experience.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm going with Felder over Berkman. I just feel like Berkman needs to stop fighting. He proved us wrong last time when he beat KJ Noons. Nobody saw that coming. At least none of us did.
Well, I feel like
But
Felder's like a proto version of Berkman. They're both grinders who kind of somehow pull it out at the end. And that's the situation. Like Felder, I mean, his last 3 fights have all gone decision. Narrow win over Crookshank, a loss to Edson Barbosa, and then that other loss to the British guy, Ross Pearson. And so all those went the distance. They were close enough. They were competitive. And that's kind of the same thing with Berkman. It's like, you didn't get killed by Hector Lombard, but you didn't win against, you know what I mean? Those kinds of things. So I think that he's going to be able to edge him where it counts, and I think that's how he gets it done. Brian, let's move on to the fight that you wanted to talk about. Sarah McMahon versus Jessica, the Whispering Eye.
I like it. I like it. Good reference. Well, I mean, we kind of talked about this earlier, and even though I agree with you in like Jessica I being legit, kind of not necessarily a legit fighter, but I mean she's definitely has some good fights under her belt. I mean, people she's lost to aren't exactly pushovers. But I mean, I have to give it to McMahon just for the sole fact that we waved at her like little high school like or middle school like crushes. You know what I mean? Like yelling at her from across the gymnasium, and she actually turned and waved to us and acknowledged us. That was pretty cool. So I'm going with Sarah McMahon.
And she did it in such like a, I'm here. So are you. It's okay. You're going to be okay. It wasn't condescending.
Right.
It wasn't like, oh my God, this never happens to me. I'm so excited. It was like, yeah, hello, goodbye. I had fun with it. I am similarly.
Right. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was a great way to cap off my bachelor party. That's right, kids. Getting hitched. This old guy right there on my wedding finger. And the night was capped off as we were leaving Invicta 17 by waving and being greeted and disgreeted by Sarah McMahon. Jessica, I never, ever once has said hi to me. I've never said hi to her, but still, it's no excuse. She must die.
Agreed.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be a competitive fight, but I think that Sarah McMahon, I just want her to win. Like, her losses have been really hard for me to watch. Her loss against Ronda was startling. Her loss against Misha was frustrating. I'd love to see her kind of get a shot. But one of the situations with this fight, especially, like, Jessica I is 1-3-1.
Right.
Could have been 2-1, but she got popped for marijuana. But neither of these gals, both of them have lost to Misha Tate, so neither of them are going to be shooting up and jumping over anybody to get to her anytime soon. So they both need a couple wins, and they need a good start to get them some momentum. So I'd like to see McMahon do it. I think she's got just the better opportunities. I mean, if you look at the other one for Jessica I, it's Leslie Smith, who I was saying isn't that good, and it's kind of a great excuse to start a featherweight division because if Leslie Smith is a credible bantamweight, and she has an 8-7-1 record, why can't we have a featherweight division? Are you saying the talent's an issue? Because here's somebody who's well received who doesn't necessarily have the talent. Blah, blah, neither here nor there. Let's move on to a fight that we both have an eyeball stuck to adhesively. Jorge Masvidal, Gamebred, versus Lorenz Da Monsoon Larkin. Brian, who do you have winning this fight and why?
Oh, it's definitely going to be Larkin. Absolutely. I feel like he established.
SoCal in the house?
Yeah, it's something that we saw in his last fight where we both kind of agreed that it was kind of like a robbery in the loss to Tumanov. I mean, I guess since it was a split, it wasn't that much of a robbery, but I mean, really. Like, I feel like those leg kicks were insane. And yeah, I see Larkin taking this one.
I agree. Also, Da Monsoon fought Da King Mo in Strikeforce, so he was a former huge guy. And you have what's his face? Masvidal used to be a 155er. This is a huge
Right.
size difference that you really, I don't think people are going to appreciate. Obviously, Larkin was undersized in his previous fights, but I mean, he's a natural welterweight who, like we both said, should be undefeated at welterweight. I like Jorge Masvidal. I think he's a good fighter, but I don't think that he can match Larkin for the physicality, for the striking. It ain't there. I expect Larkin to look pretty fantastic in this fight. Hoping like a second round TKO would be great for me.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I'd agree with you. Second round knockout.
Next, we have Chris Camozzi versus Vitor Miranda, the guy who calls himself Lex Luthor. Why you would pick that bald character of all the bald characters to model yourself after, I don't know. You could have been the Silver Surfer for fuck's sake, but you chose the guy who wasn't even bald his entire DC Comics run. Oh yeah, he used to be a ginger. Whatever. I'm gonna root for Chris Camozzi despite the bro tattoos because watching him bravely lose to Jacare not once but twice has endeared me to the poor lad. I look at him kind of like I would a one-legged child with crutches outside of a Vaughn's panhandling. I want good things for him because he's not going to be able to get them on his own because he doesn't have the opportunities to do so. Brian, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm going with Camozzi. Decision. It's gonna be a 3-rounder in my opinion. So Camozzi gets the nod there.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating because Camozzi has that very Jean Vellante-esque plotting style. You'd almost wish that he would kind of come back and have this like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu resurgence after losing to Jacare. Like he focuses so much on this one aspect of the game that he becomes prolific, but it's not going to happen. It's just something nice to kind of think about. Would it be nice, like a Disney movie, like the guy gets beat and then he comes back and he does the same thing better? Woohoo! And that's how Fabrizio Verdum got started in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He got in a fight on a beach with his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend, who beat the shit out of him using Jiu-Jitsu. Then he was super embarrassed, went to a gym, learned Jiu-Jitsu, became a multi-time world champion, then a UFC heavyweight champion for a short time.
Huh, I like you added that for a short time, like very
For a
sudden.
short time.
Yeah.
So this is the fight I'm really looking forward to coming up. Tarek the Sponge Safadine versus Rick the Horror Story, which, goddamn, that's just one of my all-time favorite ring names. I know it's campy. I know that it's kind of a like low-hanging fruit, but it's so good.
It works though. I mean, everything about it like flows like fluidly. So I agree with you. It's definitely one of the better nicknames out there.
And so one of the stories going into this week was Tarek Safadine had lacerated his knee on a cage and was skeptical he'd be able to fight. The doctor says that he's cleared, so he will be fighting. Either way, even if he has a little bit extra weight to cut now, even if cardio is kind of a rough factor, at least he's not recovering from invasive neck surgery. Brian, Rick Story had discs replaced in his motherfucking neck. Do you think he has a chance against the final Strikeforce welterweight champion?
No, absolutely not.
No.
No, it's I don't know. I don't see this going any way other than Safadine just completely destroying him stand up the entire fight. I feel like it'll go 3 rounds, but I feel like it's going to be punishing and grueling for Story.
Hell yeah. And if Story has any method of winning, I mean, you've seen he's a grinder, so it's going to be this is going to be a stand-up just thing of beauty. I really think so. It might be slower paced than most people would like, but I think that I've enjoyed all of Tarek's fights. His fight against Nate Marquardt is one of my all-time favorite fights.
Right. I was just about to say.
It's a thing of beauty. I mean, he dismantles Marquardt, and I think he has the very good potential to do that in this fight and look good doing it. And I hope for good things for Tarek Safadine, and I hope for good things for Rick Story. Safadine, I just wish would be more active because, I mean, in the UFC, he only has, I think it's 3 fights, and he could do a lot more. Brian, have you ever seen the video? It's a couple years old now, but it's Tarek Safadin's son when he's 2 years old, throwing perfect technique leg kicks into a couch in his diaper.
Seriously, that's awesome.
It's super normal.
That's how you know it's like it's totally in the genes. Like the guy is like a legit like kickboxer, and like it's like he just passed it down. His son's just gonna be like some stud.
Yeah, he's like the Jor-El and his son is the Kal-El, and he's going to talk to him through some giant crystal at one time. Like, you've been endowed with great potential and power. And he's going to abandon his weird accent and replace for the Marlon Brando accent from the old Superman movies. Am I creating too vivid a narrative here, Brian?
Go on.
And then his son adorns a Reebok fight kit and goes and blah, blah. I've already become bored of my own. If it was a horror story, I would have enjoyed it, but it wasn't. Hey, guess what? No.
Chicken butt?
No, I was going to do the... But it didn't work. I pressed it, and then all the YouTube thing did was just show me the slide on where the video was, which is not what I wanted it to do.
Right.
I blew my wad. That was going to be my big, like, finish. Like, I was going to be like, aha, this is how I reclaim this segment of their show. Nope.
Nothing.
Moving on, Henan Barrow versus Jeremy Stevens. Yay.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's something we talked about in prior to the podcast, in that, like, it's nice to see Henan Barrow unranked in this weight class, because we both believe that what you did in another weight class should not carry over. You know, I wholeheartly agree with the decision and to not have any emphasis into where he's placed. And but I mean, I definitely feel like he is going to give Jeremy Stevens some trouble. I could potentially see this going to a submission from Henan Barrow. I'm going to go submission third round.
Yeah, if not even sooner. I think that one of my all-time favorite submission victories is when he beat Brad Pickett. Yeah, Brad, you know, he whallops him. Brad goes down on all fours. He swings under him like a spider monkey, scissors around, gets the rear naked choke. It was a thing of beauty. I think that Henan Barrow has the technique, the speed, the drive, the ambition. He's been a champion. He wants to be a champion. He was a champion at a weight class he didn't want to be in, but was at to accommodate his friend and compatriot in Jose Aldo. But now that Jose is not the champ, boom, Henan's got his time to shine, and he got his teeth fixed so he doesn't look like Apu from Aladdin.
It's fucked up.
Tell me it's not an accurate description.
It's totally true, though. I'm like,
thank you
on his picture, and I'm like, oh, I see it.
Especially when his head's shaved. Goddamn, boy. Just grow a little thing, have a side part like good old Jake here, and you won't look so much like a monkey. But yeah, Jeremy Stevens is a guy who he's shit in my cereal multiple times. I don't like him because he's been, you know, there's the whole thing of domestic violence, and he beat Dennis Bermudez, who, if you know, I'm a huge fan of. So he will always be on the lower half of my. Like, he's kind of in that Dallas Cowboys area for me, where it's like, not only do I root for people who are going to beat him, but people who are even just going to fight him. I don't even care, just so long as you're giving them competition.
You know what's crazy about Jeremy Stevens? It's like, I was looking at his record. The first UFC he was in is in 2007. He lost to Din Thomas. Holy shit. He has been in the UFC for a bit.
9 years. And he's got a 24-12 record, right? So he's 1 or 2-1 ratio.
Right.
So we're playing Call of Duty. He's not a guy who I necessarily want on my team. Like 2-1's okay.
Although one of his wins in 2008, though. Do you see who he beat? Rafael Dos Anjos.
Yeah, who didn't, though? I mean, right? Come on. That's why everybody was saying that RDA was on juice when he beat Anthony Pettis. But, you know, like I'm saying, so a 2-1 KTD ratio is not bad, right? But then if you compare it to an 8-1? Oh, wait. No. 3 times 9 is 27.
No, it's a 10.
It's an 11 because it's 33.
Right.
So it's
Our math is
11 and change. 11. You know how many airstrikes you can call in with that motherfucker? Henan Barrow is my starting line. Like, he's my ace in the hole. When I'm playing a map I don't like, send him an invite to game request. Let him do all the hard work for me while I sit in the corner and look up statistics on my phone. Moving on, we got the main event. Thomas Almeida versus Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt, who stuck it to Paige Van Zandt before she was Dancing with the Stars famous. Brian, did you know that?
I did know that. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I hate the guy even more. I mean, it slipped my mind, but I hate him even more now.
You feeling that jealousy, that twinge of scorn?
It's a little bit there, but I mean, you know, it's whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't see Garbrandt winning this. Garbrandt. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm giving the nod to Almeida, dude. I mean, stand up wise, the guy's a beast. Like 16 knockouts, 3 submissions, 1 decision.
He has twice as many knockout victories as Cody Garbrandt has professional fights.
Right. And then, like you were saying before, is how Cody was saying, you know, like, oh, well, his competition's been like a bunch of nobodies. What do you say, like a cab drivers or something? But I mean, any one of these fights, regardless of who you're fighting, especially when it comes to UFC or any MMA in general, really, it just takes one shot to knock you out. Even if you're advantage, you have, you know, the odds, or you have, you know, you're gonna wreck this guy. Matt Serra knocked the fuck out of George St. Pierre. Nobody saw that coming. Any one of these fights where Almeida was fighting, he could have lost in any number of ways, but he is 20-0 with 16 knockouts. So I mean, that's definitely saying something.
Hell yeah! And Cody Garbrandt, not to put you in your place, blood, but according to your Wikipedia page, you've only fought one guy with a Wikipedia page, and that guy has since been cut from the UFC in Marcus Brimage. So, ow, that's going to leave a mark. Much to Brian's point with Thomas Almeida, look at guys like Glover Teixeira, Henan Barrow. Sure, like they went long periods of time with no defeats. And they got hiccups. So even if you get a hiccup, they're still recoverable. They're redeemable. Look at Glover. Glover's been on a fucking tear since then. Henan, we both have beating Jeremy Stevens. So I think that he's in a real solid position to make a very big impact. Cody likes to showboat, leave his hands down. He gets hit a lot, an awful lot, against a guy who's a KO artist. And when you look at the Team Alpha Male scenario, there's no real striking coach. There's this kind of amorphous blob, like a 3-headed monster of Buckholes, Holsworth, and Castillo. Like, you want him to do well, but I really think that he's getting an unfair push, given this is going to be his 4th UFC fight. And also, like, what's he going to do? Like, it's just the whole situation's kind of weird to me.
Right. Yeah. I don't see this going anywhere other than I'm going with 2nd round knockout
For Almeida?
Almeida, absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a TKO. I think it's going to come early too. Like, I don't think it goes to because it's 5-rounder. I don't think it goes to decision. And if it does, I very, very heavily favor Almeida at that point. Garbrandt's got these stubby little arms. Have you noticed that? They're stubby little arms.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay, so check this out. Check this out. Knockouts for Almeida. Punches. Oh, okay. Technical knockout or knockout. TKO punches. TKO punches. KO punch. KO elbow. TKO punches. Knockout. Knee-in punches. TKO punches. The guy is just a freaking punching machine. I mean, I feel like he uses his range very nicely. And especially when we last watched him fight against Burchak. He just tore him apart. So I feel like the same is going to happen against Cody.
I wholeheartedly agree. And with that, his name is Brian. My name is Jake. And his name is John Cena. I did it again.
I like it.
I hope that records well. All right, stay tuned for the Overtime MMA broadcast, which is going to be recorded next. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, to share with your friends. I want you to save our episodes on flash drives and put them as stocking stuffers next year. Get us out there so we can have better equipment, so the next time I harass you with sound bites, it's not off my shitty iPhone 6, it's off of a shitty iPhone 6 Plus.